You know what it is. It's hot outside. I hear people running the AC. I don't blame them. And I'm back for another one with y'all, man. Let's cool off for a minute and have a few minutes with each other, man. And freestyling as I always do. Also, I am your man, King A.D.S. You know what I'm saying? I'm out of the Inland Empire, Southern California, where it is dry and hot, and it takes two sets of hills to get over from the coastline to get any kind of cool down from an overcast. But nevertheless, man, like I said, we gonna have a little cool down right now. And I just want to talk about how weird weird everything is out here, and how nothing is what it seems to be, right? Nothing is what it seems to be. The movies you watch, not what it seems to be. What some public figures may say, not what it seems to be. What you see entertainers do, the image portrayed, not what it seems to be, right? All these things are strange, and how weird it actually gets. Like I've mentioned, I'm just gonna jump right into it. Like some of the things, like okay, I saw a dude talking about the movies, right? I've touched on the movies and things like that before, possibly having messages in them, or the methodology behind some of the concepts that I've always suspected about the movie making and sharing information. Someone that's informed trying to shed some light on something without getting, you know, ended, right? But to spread that message, and you can kind of tell who is kind of like how people are paying attention to the corporate push of things now, have a corporate touch of things, or who has more of a authentic push on things, right? Authentic take on things rather than a corporate spin, which is like full of visuals and not a lot of storyline or plot. You know what I mean? You got a lot of anti-heroes and a lot of weird stuff popping off, rather than a scenario that could play out full of concepts that it provoke thought, and things like that. So amongst those, right, I've touched on Minority Report before. How the technology advances to the point where it seems to have some kind of symbiotic relationship with the human. It knows about your vitals, it knows who you are by doing retinal scans, and seems to be able to speak directly to each individual, so that way it's not just a bunch of jumbled messages going out. So there has to be a transmitter and a receiver, right? So even in that concept is interesting. Precogs for pre-crime enforcement unit, things like that. And we hear more of that language popping up. Maybe they want to create some kind of predictive um, rhythm or something like that that can kind of be geared towards a concept to that nature. Um, Total Recall, I brought that up before. And how in Total Recall, the protagonist of the story, I don't know if you can call him a real protagonist, kind of like an anti-hero too, because not he's you don't know if he's necessarily a good guy. He's just a spy or whatever, but he's just following in his orders and doing his duties, right? Or is he really just a regular guy? He can't even tell in the end, because he's having imagery and thoughts and things injected, into his own mind. So it's sharing space with his, regular biological natural existence. And he's got more stuff being crammed in. So he thinks he's this person on Mars doing all these things, but he's really just a worker in the everyday world. Or is he? But he's sharing these memories, right? So I've heard tech people, this TED Talks, if you guys have seen these things, drop it down in the comments. Let me know what you saw. You know what I mean? Stuff is interesting out here. But like where we had these people talking about, wouldn't it be cool? And this is how it's always posed to you too. But wouldn't it be cool if you could share somebody else's thoughts as your own, like an experience? They went on a roller coaster, but you didn't. But now you could have that experience downloaded into your brain, and now you can experience the same things they did, so on and so forth. That's a hop, skip, and a jump away from what Total Recall is talking about, basically, where you can live out a virtual experience, but in your own mind, as implanted recorded memories or something like that. So some of these things that you see as concepts are not too far-fetched from what the aspirations or inspiration, can maybe even act as inspiration, but the aspirations of some people out here, you just never know, and that's how weird it gets. Another thing I also find strange, the he brought up the movie Wally, right? I'm not sure if I touched on Wally before or if I forgot to mention something about Wally. Wally is a fun movie. Wally is cool. Wally is kind of comedic because it poses a scenario where people seem to be very dependent on the technology around them. Right? They no longer walk. They use these hover chairs to get around. They constantly have screens up in front of their eyes, telling them what to do, where to go, what to buy, what's hot. They're constantly eating what's ever given to them while in these floating chairs, these lazy boy recliner chairs that they go around in. And so much that the person had mentioned the same thing that anyone would notice is that when they do an x-ray that their bones shrunk, right? So they don't haven't been getting around physically and authentically with people in a genuine way or anything like that. They're just wrapped up in their little bubble. And now, okay, so now here's one other thing that I wanted to bring about. That, I mean, that's one thing to say, but I wanted to bring up about that movie. Another thing I wanted to bring up about that movie is what people seem to miss, and something that shouldn't be overlooked is, I believe, I could be wrong, but if I'm right, check it out, you guys. But I think what is happening, the scenario that is posed to us in that movie, is that consumerism and corporate greed, all these concepts have run amok to the point where, yeah, profit was chosen way over the welfare of people and the ecosystem. So we ruined the earth. We were not living on earth while roaming around on these devices and using all this technology. The way that it happened was earth became uninhabitable. I believe it's the same movie. I think that's the same movie. It becomes uninhabitable, and there is another robot, I think her name is Evie or something like that, but she is tasked with finding the evidence of biological life of some sort on the planet. In other words, the planet is uninhabitable. So the oxygen levels, the nitrogen levels, hydrogen levels are all messed up. The soil is poison. And I forget how long in the concept we had not been living feet down, boots on the ground on Earth. We were actually orbiting the Earth in some kind of huge space station. You know what I'm saying? So even in that concept, let's just talk about that in real life. Let's just say something like that could happen. Who do you think would be up on these space stations, right? Do you think it would be the mass majority of the public? I really couldn't see that happening, as we have the mass majority of the public not being able to participate in the most mundane of activities, right? Like on their own. Sometimes things are very unaffordable and unattainable and very difficult to achieve. You can't have any slip ups or anything. So even by association, as we see now, we see a lot of disenfranchisement, which is a powerful word that I told everyone to be on the lookout for. But nevertheless, like, we see that. So the divide would be great and massive, and it would kind of follow that. It would be false, but it would follow the saying of 144,000 people chosen and get lifted up and taken, right? So I think that might be a play on there hidden in there too. However, yeah, they would leave the rest of the planet shook, you know what I'm saying, for the benefit of these shareholders and so on and so forth. We've seen that in other disaster movies too, end of the world type scenarios. We've seen that before. So I wouldn't see why it would be any different. But nevertheless, like, keep in mind that we're orbiting the planet. We, I don't know how long we haven't been on the planet, hundreds of years, who knows? But is life sustainable on this thing that's floating? It isn't, and it's going to run out eventually. And people need to get down to the gravitational field of the Earth, how they're designed to be. And so that's a part that I wanted to share that I think a lot of people miss. You know what I'm saying? They think of the robot and they think of the Wally and all that stuff, and they think of the funny parts, but they forget that in there is also our folly, that we became, our hubris did us in again. We became too full of ourselves, feeling ourselves too much. We cared about the image and reputation over the person, so on and so forth. We're building buildings and not people, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like where we're headed. We're kind of there already, so that's alarming, and you should be aware, you know what I'm saying? Be aware, right? Also other things too. the methodology, the thinking, the ideologies, man. Right now, people are pitted in these impossible scenarios, right? It plays out. We have contests to win a better life, so on and so forth. Win the lottery with these algorithms, so on and so forth. It's kind of like Hunger Games. We've been there for a long time, though, and people don't realize that. You know what I'm saying? Also, within there, posing people with these hard, contradictory scenarios, situations to try to weather the storm through and survive. And it's almost like setting up institutions for the fallout, as if it's almost like it's intentional hand, right? Like pushing it, like we already have the setup ready to catch all you what we call degenerates at the end, when the same source would be the reason that they're criminalized in the first place, right? But it's almost like playing out a Joker mentality. Like, do you remember that in Batman, when a Joker with Christian Bale, and the Joker is basically wants to see everything burn, and basically wants to see society tear itself down, and bets on the nature that we will revert back to our most animalistic form, void of trust, void of compassion or understanding or rational thought, and just react in a panic, fearful, animalistic mode and take each other out, and utter chaos will reign supreme. And then the Joker, the trickster, right? The Joker, representing the trickster in a sense, will say, see, I was right. Humans are nothing but lowly beings, lowly beings, lower life form type beings. We act sophisticated, but we're really animals. And we see that comes from someone who's based his whole existence off chaos, and that comes from the chaos that they were exposed to, and maybe you already had some issues, right? Just with that character in particular. But in the real world, we see ourselves facing a similar scenario, and please don't forget that. And they put that nugget in another flick. You see what I'm saying? It's also in a movie. But the more you understand all concepts of life, the more that you grow, the more that you can pick these things out and say it's very interesting and clever, possibly clever, that they put this in here for everyone. And interesting and clever and wonderful that there were other people in our existence, a timeline as human beings, that left other little nuggets for us. Maybe it's buried, you know what I'm saying, so on and so forth. But we can be so grateful that we can find this information, get the story straight, get more, an understanding and grasp on things, and move upwards and forwards, seeing things more clearly, feet planted on the ground. And I think that's fantastic. So where are your good guys? Where are your teachers? Sometimes they have already turned into dust and faded in the script of time. However, they may leave something behind. I think I put two words together and said mate, but they might leave something behind for us to have. So same thing, kudos go out to artists and creatives and other people who think like that, who will leave something behind for other people to say, you know what, there's a pattern for me here. I do notice something a little bit strange. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I could unlock a whole different chain of thought. You know what I'm saying? And change perspectives, and maybe even inspire somebody to get into some literature, or look at things a little bit more closely, right? To take their time. As another lesson was given to me, most simple words, but I think it came from the source, and it told me, hey, I gave you those arms and legs to get right to things, but I never once told you to rush through anything. Woo! I never told you to rush through anything. Take your time when you're there, pay attention, be attentive, be present, right? In other words. But it never told me to rush through anything, but it said, yeah, you can get right to it, and that's your advantage. So I love that. So I think that maybe these things can help inspire people to do that, to do just that, to get right to it. Just like I'm doing right now. If you're still here and you got some love, or you're out there and you feeling this, whichever way, man, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, help this reach more people. You know what I'm saying? I'm here doing my part. This started as a very more personalized thing, but now I'm seeing the benefit, and I really like trying to spend some time and get better at having a on-camera personality and all this kind of stuff. So it's really cool to be able to share some of these ideas and thoughts and angles. You know what I'm saying? It's not anything where I say this is 100% it, but things can be very interesting, and maybe together we come with a clearer picture in the end, or just have a moment where we have an interesting discussion topic, or things like that, or it sparks conversation in your own circles, so on and so forth, right? But yeah, the Joker one I thought was really trippy. Also, what I find trippy is it happens over and over again. Weird, right? Weird that these guys, whoever it is, like the evil side of things, the selfish side of things, right? The over obsessed side of things, right? Self obsessed, even, is often obsessed with changing the narrative to be accepted, and also is obsessed with things that influence the mind. So mind control devices, and well, and portals. You can't make this stuff up. You can't write it any better. But these guys are obsessed with mind control devices and portals, whichever way you want to slice it. You know, it just happens over and over, whether it's communications or long term space travel or contacting some kind of entity or saying that you've unlocked sentient conscience in digital realm. It just never stops. Portals, 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 mind control devices, strange, weird stuff. But just wanted to share that with you guys, putting in this work, putting a good foot forward, stay in front of you guys to do something that's interesting, help spark the brain. If I hope I do that. Definitely check out all the music in my catalog that's on my channel and all over the place. Go to king80smusic.com. If you're in the area, I am a humble servant of the people. So also, if you're in this area in the Inland Empire, I'm hit up Best Junk Removal if you need junk hauled out or removed, or if you know of any businesses or residentials or type of properties or anybody like that, pass this along to them. Say, call Best Junk Removal in the Inland Empire. And but stay tuned. Check out all the music. Check out The Almighty Grind, which is the alternative rock stuff. Check out Cosmic Rock Box, which is this different avant-garde type of pop electronica stuff, way different. Check out Legacy Family, Immortal Eternal Volume 1, and also Legacy Family Immortal Carols. Check out all the King A.D.S stuff, and I know I'm probably missing something. Oh, check out the Elevated Soul presents A.D.S from back in the days. Check out the old EP from Heat Records where it all started. And check out the Blowed fam. Check out the Flourish and Prosper fam. Check out a lot of these underground, aspiring, great, conscious, amazing artists that are out here. And man, stay tuned. I just love being able to do this and share the energy when it hits, and so I hope this hit with you. But yeah, man, things are weird, but we're on our own thing, and if they want to call us weird, that's okay, because we doing our own thing and we getting it together on a strength. So I love connecting with you. Let's keep it that way. All right, y'all, much love. To the next one. Peace.